Okay, so here's the boat I'm going to be fishing out of. It's a 1967 MirroCraft Deep V 14 footer sitting on top of a 1959 Balco Bosun Model 500 trailer made out of Ladysmith, Wisconsin. But more about that trailer here in a little bit. The boat was in pretty good condition. First power source was a 17-pound thrust trolling motor that literally blow you backwards in the wind. And it also came with a 1962 Mercury Cloud White two-stroker and a hummingbird that looked like playing an old game of Tetris, but it worked. First order of business, let's do a little bit of water test, and we found a little bitty nuisance leak up at the front. Get a kick out of this. We tried to use some Flex Seal tape on that. As you can imagine, did not work. We got some of that 8200 sealant in there, applied that, and stopped that little leak. Next thing we did was replace the wood inside. Had to put some chairs in. One of the things I'll point out to you is the chair extenders, invaluable. Pushed it back about 6 inches and made all the difference in the world. What we did do though is put some little notches in there to keep that thing from swiveling in a 360. Made it stationary. And then we finally got some power upgrades. Got a 50-pound thrust trolling motor, but at the same time we went back to work on that 1962 Mercury. Had to tear everything apart, put in some new points, condensers, impeller. Parts were extremely hard to find for this thing. Got it running. It ran pretty good and wasn't blowing oil, but we put it back onto the boat, got everything adjusted and ready to rock and roll with this thing, and we found that it actually had some gasoline leak, and all those hoses were rotted out, so it was just spraying everywhere. So we ended up saying, you know what, let's just go down and get us some new horsepower. So that's what we ended up doing. In the meantime, you can see we put some flooring in here, got some new toys on there. Oh, as I mentioned, 1967, the price of this thing new was $164. As I mentioned, that Balco trailer, I forget whether a little bit more than that, was actually delivered in a crate. But nonetheless, anyway, the trailer is a love-hate relationship. Comes with 2 different size bearings, and try to find those bearings. One set was common. The other set was extremely hard to find, and I think they were about $100 a piece. So went through an ordeal with the wheels and the tires, a little 8-inchers, and finally ended up with some 12-inchers, slapped those on there. But I constantly was trying to fight those wheel bearings, putting on the little seals or the ones with the greaser fittings on there, and just nothing but terrible results on that. I've struggled with a great build on the trailer. Obviously, 1959, I used it quite a bit, but got a good story about this. The neighbor across the street was going to throw away his trailer, and I ended up getting that. But in the meantime, we took this thing out for a test. This is a maiden voyage with that new motor on there. So it went from a little 6 horsepower to a 15 horsepower. You can see we're tooling around out here. And turn back around, going a little bit faster. Everything seemed to be working good, but you'll see here as I'm slowing down and go to take off, and I really wasn't going that fast. You can see the motor starting to flex on that transom back there. Well, earlier during the day, got this thing up to probably, I don't know, it was 24 miles an hour, 24 knots, something like that. And yeah, that transom was really flexing. Because again, the previous motor on there was a 6 horsepower and probably about half the weight. And I think this thing was anywhere between 99 or 105 pounds. But got it home that first day and went and got some angle angle aluminum and started reinforcing that back in. You see the little thin sheets of aluminum I tried to use as a back plate. Tried to nail everything down, put it back on there, positioned it correctly. All I did was throw that motor on there and went out and tooled around. Then we stiffened up the quarters or the corners back there. That helped out tremendously. Took it back out for another test spin. You can see here I'm not even going very fast, but spitting up water everywhere. It's hitting me in the back of the head. So looking out a little bit further, trying to figure out where this is coming from, and it looked like it was directly spraying up from the transom off of the bottom. I mean the transducer off of the bottom. Heck, you can't even see the water coming out, cooling water coming out of the motor. You start to slow down, you see it, but anyway, that's what the problem was, and there's the culprit right there, spraying water all over the back of that. Another thing we did was put a transom saver in, talking about trying to save the transom, bouncing up and down. Went back and put some extra supports in the corners. This time we got her nailed down pretty good, I think. And the next order of business, back to the trailer. This time I reached out to my buddy Brian Hawkins. He did a little bit of trailer repair for me, much needed. It added a little extension off the front. We got a new coupler up front. He put a support bar in the middle. Did a lot of good work. So this time I thought I'd put a fresh coat of paint on there. Painted back on the parts, got everything put back together. There's that new trailer coupler, and those crazy lights and the lighting and the light bulbs. There's those bearing savers, and then the fenders, which he actually made for me the first time around. And then we finally got another new toy, which is the Minn Kota Spot Lock. That's a great piece of equipment right there, but I had to build a deck up in the front, something to be able to support that big heavy thing. So I went and got some aluminum and some framing. Started framing this thing out, and that thing should be strong enough to stand on, and there it is. There's the new trolling motor. And then we were going to put the Garmin fish finder on there. I had to do some new wiring with some on and off. We did an on and off switch for both the positive and negative. You saw the little switches there. We thought we'd put some lighting in there. So we got lighting in the back, lighting in the front. We're all legal. Tidy up some of the wiring again. And up underneath the seat in the front, that's kind of a neat idea to keep that long trolling motor from bouncing around. I ended up trimming that thing down to get it out of the way anyway. There's some more of those wheel bearings. Here's a nice, interesting little subject. That's where the serial number is found for the MirroCraft. And again, 1967. First preceding letter is a G, which denotes the 1967 model. Found that online. Went back, found some solid pieces of aluminum, stiffened back up that transom one last time. Yeah, that made a heck of a difference right there. You can see it's very, very sturdy now. Last thing we did was put the umbrella on there. I haven't tested that yet. I'm sure that's going to blow away in the wind. Got back out there, full speed, and no flexing whatsoever. It's a wonderful thing. Love this boat. Now, here's that trailer. This is what I talked to you about. Good points, bad points. But every time you put this trailer on, you have to put your waders on and get into the water. And as you can see here, there's not that much wind. But man, this thing is difficult, especially in the wind. This is a keel roller trailer, so it literally has to line up perfectly on here. It's just a pain in the butt, especially when it's cold out. So as I said, guy across the street threw his boat away, and that was for a pontoon boat. So I went to work. Again, here we go, fighting the wheel bearings again. But had to modify this thing from being for that pontoon boat to be able to fit this boat. Ended up having those small 8-inch tires again. And this thing came with the bearing savers on there too, which the key that what I found out is that those things get rusty in there, and they're not able to move back and forth as you're putting in the grease. So the next thing you know, you're blowing your seals out the back. So what I ended up doing was getting the original bearing buddies. I think they're actually made out of Puerto Rico. But in the meantime, you can see there's a trailer, and as you notice, okay, this thing was set up for a pontoon boat, so all the weight on that pontoon boat was like right in the middle of that boat. And on the first time I got this, the wheel, the axle was like in the middle. So after seeing that and then taking it for a quick spin, that thing was teetering back and forth. We ended up pulling the axle back as far as we could get it to the back without any interference. And then we fitted it back up, and as you can see, it's that back axle's back towards the rear. I had to do a few adjustments here and there. Ended up ordering that kit from E-Trailer. This is the spindles that were causing me that grief. And you'll see on here, I think I've got some photos on here, that bearing buddy, there they are right there. Make sure you use the genuine, they move in and out. And this was the key right here with the seal kit. So the seal kit has, right there on the end of that spindle, it has a smooth finish that goes on there, and then you put your new stuff on, and wow, what a difference everything makes. So that was at the end of the year. That's where I stopped, and we're ready for the next boating season. So anyway, thanks for watching, and special shout out to my brother Jeff, and thanks. Hope to see you out there.